Well, hey everyone. Happy Math Crush Monday. We are getting to talk about my favorite topic, which is math talk, where math talk is in math expressions. So thanks for joining me. If you're joining us on our Facebook group page, so glad to have you. Math Expressions user group. If you're on our website, at Empower Learn Grow, thanks for joining us there. And if you're on our YouTube channel, at Empower Learn Grow, I'm glad you're here. My name is Shannon Kiebler. I'm the moderator of our Facebook group and the creator of the Math Genius Squad, which is a K-6 membership for those of you who use math expressions as your main curriculum. So I plan to taught every lesson in math expressions since the 2009 copyright. I know the resource really well, and more importantly, just math instruction. So my goal is to help you to be more effective and more happy with how you're teaching math and get the better results. So tonight's going to really be important as we're talking about how we do that with specifically math discourse. And I want to point out where it's at in expressions. So when we think about our math expressions support, the first question is, where is math talk in math expressions? And the short version of that answer is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. So when I think about students who are struggling with engagement or teachers that are frustrated because they have low engagement, we are doing a lot of sit and get in the classroom where I'm telling kids what to do, but then they kind of get it when they're with me, and then I send them off to be independent in a workbook or another activity, and I have a line, this long at my desk because students can't be independent. They don't really understand it, and I'm wondering, what am I doing wrong? I also have a lot of friends who want to bring in things like number talks, which a lot of states have initiatives around, or districts are like, we have to use a number talk. So remember from last week as we talked about this, a number talk is an event. It is a part of math talk, but it is not what I mean when I say let's do math talk. When I say math talk, I mean we are a math talk community. It's what we do throughout the math block. So math talk is partner talk, small group part talk, students in front of the room talking. It's anytime students are using their voices. So that's what we know, is that it is all the time, everywhere in our curriculum. So I'm going to take you out to a math expressions teacher guide right now, and I'm going to show you some places where you can see this, because if you're struggling with any of those things and you're frustrated by the lack of engagement, or you're wanting to bring in more number talks because of it, or you're wanting to bring in more conversation or engagement, or even like building thinking classrooms into your classroom and wondering like, how does math expressions fit with this? It all works. And there's all those ways that you can embed things like number talks, which are great strategies, and building thinking classroom, which is a great instructional strategy. But you can also just use what's there. So let me take, as we look at Think Central and we look at the teacher's guide. So I just opened up to a unit that I've been working in lately, which is grade 3, unit 4, the 2018 version, which is about fractions. A lot of us are working in fractions right now. And if I just walk through what this looks like in the teacher's guide, I want you to pay attention to every place where, number one, it tells you to do math talk, or number two, it asks you a question, and then there's pink writing, which the pink writing is where students are supposed to be saying, like, this is what we'd expect a student to be able to say, or the answer we'd hope that they respond with. Now, of course, as I'm looking at this, and this is the first activity, you can see that it's asking students to draw these bars on their boards, and then it's saying, now I have these questions, and the teacher's asking these questions, and these are the types of responses, but we're not looking necessarily for a teacher asks a question, student responds, teacher asks a question, student responds, which is that ping pong. This is very easily a turn and talk, a small group conversation, a defend what you're thinking, someone else come up and show us. Like, you make it as interactive as you can, not necessarily let me just ask individual questions, because remember, I'm trying to get to that 70% ratio where students are talking 70% of the time. And if I want them talking 70% of the time, I have to give more than one person an opportunity to answer these questions. I want a lot of dialogue, a lot of partner talk, a lot of small group conversation. So just look, if I were to take a highlighter and just highlight every place that there's questions where students should be discussing and thinking about this work, look at it. It's literally the whole lesson. And if I scroll down, then there's frames to scaffold the language for my language learners. If I keep going, you can see that there are even more opportunities here where students are using now the number lines. This says math talk in action. So sometimes it has like a little icon that says, hey, math talk. But just looking through the script, what I think some of us see, and let me see if it's in here, like they see the workbook page and we're thinking, oh, this is about me guiding students through how to answer the workbook problems. And now let's just all do the workbook problems together. And if you read any of that script I just went through, you'd see that's not at all what it's about. Students are building on their whiteboards first, and then they're having all of this conversation and discussion around these fraction models before they ever do any of these problems in their workbook. There's so much conversation. Then if I look, I'm doing it again with these number lines, and then you see this icon that says Math Talk in Action. These happen frequently in the teacher's guide, where it's saying things like, I want you to foster this conversation with your class, and here's a vignette of what it should sound like with your age of students. So whether it's with kindergartners or it's with sixth graders, the vignette is very helpful because when I read through that, it tells me I have to ask the right types of questions to get this type of response. And I have to coach students in the right way so they understand this is the depth of conversation I'm looking for. So I really appreciate these Math Talk and Actions because it's what kind of sets the standard for me of like what is really expected of my age of students in this conversation. And if I'm not getting that, it's not because they're not capable and it's not because they're language learners. It's because I haven't coached them. I haven't provided the scaffolds, the language supports, or the questioning and opportunities for them to have these types of conversations. So I'm going to keep going through because you can see that it doesn't go away. And if I get even to my next part of this lesson here, let's go to the next lesson. Okay, same thing. Look at all the pink writing. Okay, these are all conversations. This is not about the workbook page. I keep going. Look, there's an icon that says Math Talk. And then here it is. It says, ask students to turn to this workbook page, but it doesn't say, now work through one problem at a time. Nope. It says, now use solve and discuss for exercises 1 through 6. So let me take you back to what that means. You can see it right here as clear as day. It says use, solve, and discuss. What most people don't know is that that means it's an actual Math Talk structure in Math Expression. So there's one called scenarios, there's one called solve and discuss, there's one called step by step at the board. And if you look at the front of your teacher's guide, it'll actually explain all 3 of them. So when you see those phrases in your teacher's guide, that is a structure that you're supposed to be using to do that part of the activity. So if I show you this, I want you to see that solve and discuss is one of the most popular ones, and it's the one that most people don't see or they don't pay attention to. They didn't even know that it was there. So if I share this, one second. Okay, and you look in your teacher's guide. I just showed you another, it happens to be like a second grade example, I think. And it says continue using solve and discuss. Now, you see the workbook page. That's not what it is. Solve and discuss means you're going to follow 4 steps with your students. And it was set up where they're going to follow these 4 steps as a class. Like you can see here in my first picture that I have students up at the board. Everyone's solving the same problem. I'm actually rehearsing with a student right here because everyone's solving. All of these kids at their seats are solving. All the kids at whiteboard spaces are solving. Everyone's solving the same problem. And it's the problem from that workbook page, but they're solving it publicly. And then I'm going around and having some separate conversations with students to clarify some understanding, but also to rehearse the idea because I'm about to call on 1 to 3 of them to share their thinking with the whole class. So it was set up to be with the whole class, but very clearly you can see that I use it all the time, even with small groups. And I say, okay, so now with your small group, everyone's solving this problem and, everyone raise, partner A, stand up, partner A stands up. Partner A is doing the exact same process I'm about to explain, but to the whole little group. Okay, so it doesn't have to just be in front of the whole class. So take a look here because these are the 4 steps. The first one is solve. Now, if you're a building thinking classrooms person and you like that philosophy of instruction, this is where it's at and it's already built in. Okay, now if building thinking classrooms takes a little twist on some things and how they sort kids, great, you can use those strategies too. It's a great strategy and it fits here with expressions. But expressions calls it solve and discuss. So when I say solve, I mean every single child in the room is going to solve the same problem. As many kids as possible are going to solve it in a vertical space around the room. So if I've got a whiteboard at the front of the room, I got a whiteboard at the back of the room, I've got a smartboard to the left, I've got an easel to the right. Okay, every place where I have a physical spot for students, I want them solving. Anyone who does not fit at a physical vertical space is just on the carpet or at their desks with their whiteboard. We never watch kids do math. That's like watching paint dry. We're not watching them do it. Everybody's solving. Okay, then explain means I'm going to call on 1 to 3 children to explain their thinking on how they solved that problem. Now, the first level is I want you to explain and I want you to use just level 1 math talk. First I, then I, next I. And the rule is when you do explain, you must use a pointer and you must use a visual as you're explaining. So even if you just did numeric steps, there must be a visual next door to say, well, first I added my 3/5 plus my 2/5. Well, if you're saying you did it over here in your numeric method, you should be pointing over then to your physical visual model and saying, and there's the 3/5 plus the 2/5. So I knew that made 5/5. So over here, I made another whole. Like it's first I, then I, next I. Then we say the second level of math talk is first I because. And now I'm going to say, well, first I decided to draw 2/5, but I drew a whole first because I knew that a fraction is a part of a whole, but I only shaded 2/5 of them. Okay, so we up the ante and we keep improving the quality of that conversation. But first is just, can they just explain their thinking? Now, the reason they have a pointer is because everyone gets lost. No one has any idea what you're saying when you're like, well, first I grabbed the 3 from the 2 and then I put it over here with the 5. And okay, no one knows. Like you have it in your head. No one else has that picture in their head. So we want a visual and I want to be able to track. It keeps the speaker on point and it keeps the listeners on point. Then we say the student leader, the explainer, has to say, do you have any questions? And now they're going to ask, do you have any questions? And the class has to ask them questions, either to advance their own personal learning path, meaning, I don't know why you put a 3 there, or why didn't you draw the other hole? Okay, I don't know, I should ask. Or they ask a question because they're not sure if the explainer knows. So if the explainer doesn't know, and you're like, I don't know if they know why they drew that, I'm going to ask a question. If they're bad at asking questions, it doesn't mean they can't ask questions. It means they haven't been asked to ask questions and they have not been coached on what types of questions we should ask. It's so funny to me how many kids will look at someone's board, completely disagree with what they did, not even have the same answer on their board, and it's just crickets. No one says anything. And I'm like, you obviously should be upset about this. Like you should have an opinion and you should ask a qualifying question or a clarifying question, right? Why do you have different answers? Then when the student asks a question, any question, then the explainer has to justify and they must use the visual. Excuse me. So that's how solve and discuss works. Solve, explain, question, and justify. Now, sometimes I have one student explain, and I had them explain not because it's their turn, not because they volunteered, but because whatever it is that they are going to show us is going to make my mathematical point. Whether it's I found an error in their thinking and I need everyone to talk about it, whether it's I went over and talked to them through some things, and as I was talking through them, they found their own mistake or they revised their thinking, like, oh my gosh, can you bring that to the class? We've got to talk about that. Or it's because you did this model on a number line and you did this model on a bar model. I need you guys to compare it. I need the whole class to see we could actually solve this differently. Someone converted it to a fraction greater than 1. Someone kept it as a mixed number. Those sounds like 2 different options. I want us to talk about them. So I'm not just randomly calling on kids, and it's definitely not a volunteer system. It's I am choosing who's going to explain. And just because you're standing up doesn't mean you get to explain. You only get to explain if I ask you to. Okay, so I'm going to ask someone who's at their seat to come up and bring their whiteboard up, and they're going to explain to the group because no one who is vertical had the same thought that I had, or I didn't want to highlight that idea yet. It also builds community. If you don't know what to do, look around the room. Get started. There's no reason for you just to stare at your board. Okay, you have 10 people up around the room getting started. Steal one of their ideas. It's not stealing. It's called community. We need each other sometimes to get going and to spark ideas. So you use their ideas to get launched, and then we'll build the understanding together. So solve and discuss is an actual strategy, and it's inside of Math Expressions. And it's one that if you are stuck and you don't know where Math Talk is, number one, I want you to get out those 3 sticky notes. And I want you to put 3 sticky notes in today's lesson. Go read all the red writing, all the questions, all the vignettes. And I want you to put 3 intentional spots in that lesson where you're going to ask a question the students are going to have to discuss as a small group, discuss in partners, or come up and do a solve and explain on. Okay, just 3. Work on getting 3 in every class period. And then as you get good at that, you just start upping your number of sticky notes because you saw how many opportunities there were. Okay, there were 50 in one lesson. So there's no reason we can't get to 70%. It's whether or not we value that time. And we're not going to value it if we don't feel like kids are able to explain it well, or they have the right language, or it's helping the rest of the class. You're right, it won't. But they're not going to come walking out of the womb being able to do it to that level. You have to coach them and you have to provide more opportunity. So Math Talk is actually everywhere in Math Expressions. It's whether or not we're looking for it. So I want to remind you a couple of things. Number one, we have the Math Talk bulletin board. If you'd like this bulletin board and you don't have it yet, just comment Math Talk. We have all the partner talk stems, the responders, the speaker. Okay, we have the vocabulary cards by unit, the visuals, we have the sentence frames, we have it all for you, success criteria, you name it. just comment math talk. If you're looking for that partner talk, you're like, I want to ask these questions and I want kids to turn and talk, but every time they turn and talk, it is completely unproductive. I've got a steamroller. I've got one kid that just bulldozes the other kid. I got two kids that just stare at each other. I've got other kids that don't, right? That's just a norming issue. I can help you through that. So comment course if you just want my self-paced e-course. It's really easy. It is like all the logistics. How do you choose partners? How do you norm partners within my 30-second routine? Okay, there's all there. Just comment course. If you want the partner picking cards, like just how to partner them and some of the ways that we norm them, then comment cards. There's no cost for that at all. We'll send those to you in an email. And finally, if you're in the Math Genius Squad, friends, it's all over for you. So comment squad if you're in the squad and you want me to send you a video. I think it's 3 minutes long, and I show you all the places I've included more intentional math talk in your assets inside the Math Genius Squad. If you're not a member of the Math Genius Squad, I want you to just comment member and I'll send you information. But all of my Math Genius Squad friends, this is where we are purposely giving you everything. I've given you the bulletin board for every single unit with all the visual supports. Okay, I've given you the success criteria, the build, draw, write, talk, but I'm putting it on the slides now where I'm saying this is how we build the concept, this is how we draw it. Friends, this is what we should be able to say about it. And we're putting those sentence frames on your slides. I'm giving you all the videos. So there's so much support for my Math Genius Squad members, including making you a reminder about the success criteria and the solve and discuss. When it shows up in your teacher's guide, I make sure you don't miss it. I put it on your slide deck for you. I give you all the vocabulary supports, you name it, I've given it to you. So if you're a squad member, comment squad. I'll give you that video that walks you through all the places. Again, it's like 3 minutes. If you're not a member, you probably should be. Comment member, and I will send you over the information about the squad. So let's check in, friends, and see how everyone's doing. Would you please comment, ask a question? What's on your mind in terms of math talk? If there's other questions here that you have about math talk, post them below. I will definitely respond. If you commented with any of those keywords, squad, if you're a squad member, member, if you want to be a member of the squad. And then if you are looking for the course or the partner talk course or the bulletin board, we have all of those for you. We're happy to send them over. Just comment those keywords and we'll get them right over to you. All right, friends. So glad again that you're here. Thanks again. And we'll see you next week. Happy Math Crush Monday. Bye for now.